Hey, Danielle.
Hello.
Hey, everybody else. I'm Ruth the Realtor. This is Danielle the Realtor, and we are here with Putting the Real in Real Estate. Today we are, when I have this, sorry, I have to apologize for this comment that keeps showing up. Facebook does this thing now where you can add a comment automatically. And I did that on a live a few weeks ago, and I can't figure out how to freaking get rid of it. So just ignore.
So you don't have to register at AHA Club.
You do not, no. Unless you're a realtor and you want to register for one of our Agents Helping Agents events, you can do that.
Absolutely.
So today we're talking about putting the real in real estate in the realm of statistics. And there's an old, what is it? The old saying, there's lies, damn lies in statistics, right?
Yes, exactly.
So people can make statistics look like a lot of things that they're not. And this is where we caution people. We know you're all smart people, but sometimes you get a little bit of information without context or with someone else's spin, and it can seem to be something that it's not. So I'm going to start with one example of let's see.
Ooh. Quick, Ruth. You could see all the junk my husband left in the corner.
Oh. All right.
Well, every week or every time we come with these market reports, it's a portion of what we look at. It's to kind of help manage the expectations of our buyers and our sellers. But there's always a way to go a little bit further and a little bit further. And so when we give you these kind of overviews, it's a great start. It is, indicative of where we are and where we've been, but it doesn't say, well, actually it's always been, it's always reports up until maybe 2 weeks ago, but that's still not where we are right now. But it's kind of help us figure out where we're going and how to take that data. So, but then there are other layers to it that
we're always looking in the rearview mirror. We say that all the time. You can't really be completely up to date, but this is where our experience comes in. This is where us having been through many markets and watching lots of different things and understanding what today's numbers result in as far as impact over the next few weeks. And that's something that a person, smart as they might be, standing on the sidelines, can't really do. It's also something that an algorithm that spits out numbers and charts isn't able to do. So this on the screen, you're looking at my little neighborhood. This is like 300 houses, 2 associations in a very small area in Northwest Naperville.
Sorry, it's kind of small. I thought maybe that would help. I changed up the view a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Just in case.
So this goes from 2019 until now. And if someone were looking at this chart and unfamiliar with our market, they might draw some conclusions that are wrong. Now, one of the reasons is this is a very small sample size. So you can have one sale that has a big impact on this chart. And that doesn't really mean that it has a big impact on the market. So you can see over the past couple of years, we see the dip that we see in every single chart that happened March of 2020. And then the steady increase in prices over the last year and a half. And then you see what looks like, oh my gosh, the news is right. The market fell off a cliff, right? No, not right. This is one sale. This is one house. This is one person who, when I look in and I drill down and I look at the public data, I can see that this person had a reverse mortgage It was an elderly person who got a reverse mortgage on the house, and for whatever reason, those can be complicated. They chose not to take the house and sell it and pay off the reverse mortgage. They chose to hand it over to the bank, and the bank sold it as a foreclosure. A person lived in it from the very beginning of when these places were constructed, and never really did anything different to the house. And so it was all original. There was a reverse mortgage. There was all of these circumstances that don't exist in any other sale neighborhood. And so an appraiser's not going to count this. Nobody's going to count this when they're listing properties. No buyers are going to count this when they're looking at properties, as long as they have somebody who can explain things to them. So you can look at a chart, or you can look at what a specific advertising marketing site chooses to tell you is the value of your property. And it can be completely wrong because it's based on the wrong math.
Absolutely.
So when you're looking at market reports, whether they're coming from the news, or they're coming from a realtor, or they're coming from a lender, or they're coming from any source, you still really, even though they're sharing numbers, you have to look at the source and say, do I trust this person and their experience to translate this for me in a way that I feel is true?
All right, so I am sharing a graph here. And this is, we kind of talk about some of the same things to get back to our, Kendall, Naperville area, and then overall MLS. And this is kind of this topic I want to do this here because we were talking about how we're talking about the percentage of original list to close. Now, 100%.
That's price. So, sorry, it just might be confusing. Percentage of original list price to the price that it actually closed at.
Right. And you want to see 100, right? It's, we've been kicking it, 100% for 2 years now, in Kendall County, even above for a little bit, just a slight amount, but with Naperville and the MLS, kind of sticking through with it too. But there's a difference. First of all, again, statistically, there are some people, and it really shouldn't be done this way. It's not really ethical, but quite honestly, you can, in the end, if you look at enough statistics, you can actually find the problem with it. But some agents will take every time they do a price adjustment, they will take it off the market and re-upload it as a new listing. So they might have done that 2 or 3 times. Maybe they started at 280 and it really sold at 260, but at 275 they relisted it, and at 265 they relisted it, and maybe they even relisted it at 260 once they got the offer. So there are ways to manipulate the data. Often that's usually for their own personal gain, quite honestly. But it's also sometimes to fool the buyers, and that's really not great business. But it's what some people choose.
It muddies the statistics, just like we're talking about.
Correct.
If you don't have a person to go in and find that historical data and find those changes, then you're making assumptions based on something that isn't true.
Correct. But that's it. But we're still, there are other ways that we can look. There's the last listed closed percentage and things like that. We can see how many list market days to total market days there are on there. If, as a realtor and so forth, we're helping our client really figure out the best price to offer. We take all that information together. But that being said, the other way that I want to be a little bit aware of these statistics, while still positive, don't necessarily reflect if you throw out a number there, you're going to get it. Now, one of the other things that this percentage to original list does not reflect, that we are seeing that now that we didn't necessarily see in August of 2021 when we were at 100% or very near 100%, or, even the beginning of 20, going back here where it was January of 2021, and is closing cost. With the increase in interest rates, there have been some changes. People have less to put down occasionally, or most of the time now, because now their interest rates are just that much higher. So there's opportunities to buy down interest rates and things like that. So they're asking for more closing cost, or they're trying to put more down for their home. Instead of putting 5% down, if they have it, they're doing 10% down or something, and then asking for closing cost from the sellers. So
and can I just again, to be clear, when we talk about asking for closing costs, that's a closing cost credit. It can go toward closing cost. It can pay for specific things within a transaction, but it is basically the seller giving a credit to the buyer equal to typically an amount. Sometimes we see a percentage, but it's typically an amount of money coming back from the seller to the buyer. Now, Danielle has a great way to explain what this is in reality, because a lot of sellers feel like it's their money. It's not. A lot of buyers feel like it's the seller's money, and it's not.
No. So the way I came up with this, because Ruth's usually the one with these easy to understand things, so I'm very happy with myself. But it's the idea of like you're going through a drive-through and you have a $10 bill, and your actual amount is $7.50. You hand them $10. You no longer have the $10, but they give you back the $2.50. You gave them $7.50. They got the amount of money that they were deserved, but you took that extra $2.50 back and applied it to something else. You spent it somewhere else.
So that's the same thing that happens with closing cost credits.
That's what happens.
We will
offer something.
So it's like
the seller only gets so much.
$300,000, but $10,000 in closing costs. So then that comes back as a net to the seller of $290,000. That's what the buyer is actually paying for the property, because they're getting $10,000 back, but they're financing $300,000.
And it goes into the system, and that's what I'm saying. It goes into the system as a $300,000 sale. And so that's what I'm trying to say, that some of this 100% that we're seeing across the board, as we're shifting a little bit, we might be seeing, yes, full offer price, or maybe even slightly more, but also an ask for $5,000, $7,000.
And that's something that, as long as it's detailed in the MLS the way it's supposed to be, and the listing agent has done their job correctly, that's something that Danielle and I can research. So we can see what looks like on a third-party advertising website as a full price sale, and we can find out that it was in fact $10,000 below full price.
I got a call from a potential seller recently. Can I really get this much for my house? And I looked at it, and then I noticed that it went for exactly $5,000 over what the list price was. And I went, and I clicked, and I did some research, and I'm like, yes, there was closing costs. So again, the seller got it for their list price, but the buyer and the closed offer price or contract price was $5,000 more. So it's just, again, the sellers weren't getting that much. It was just how it looks. And an appraiser is going to look at that. That's the key part. And that's why it's so important to look at all of the numbers and all of the statistics out there and all of the data, because it comes across on these major platforms. This house sold for $350,000, and you're going, what? Oh my goodness. But then it was a different, there was something else.
Yeah. And especially, 6 months ago, as things were escalating, it really didn't matter that much. But now, as the market is shifting and demand is softening, at least for the moment, we need to be looking at those things for both buyers and sellers, so that sellers are not unrealistic in their price and buyers are not confused. Also, because there are ways to make buying more affordable for buyers now that didn't exist 6 months ago. So I saw a great meme the other day that said, buying at under list price at 7% interest is better than buying $100,000 over list price at 4% interest. So we have ways now of making things more affordable for buyers. It's not, recess with a substitute teacher for sellers anymore, the way it was. But, with some thoughtfulness, it is still a really good time to be moving if that's what you need or want to do, and you have somebody with the skills to bring it together in a way that makes sense. We just want to stress that wherever you're getting your data information from, you have someone interpreting that data who understands what it means and what's behind it, and looking for all of those key elements that can really move these lines in the charts in ways that the market might not be moving them. So next week, we're going to follow up with a little more of this so that everyone can understand what's going on with the market and in their specific place. We're going to be doing more of this. We're going to be the market and issuing market reports on a regular basis for our areas. If you are at all interested in moving over the next 5 years, it's good information to have. If you own a house, it's very good information to have. Things can change at any moment, and you should be prepared. And please don't rely on those advertising sites to give you your information on what your house is worth, because as we've just illustrated, they could be acting on completely false information. So come to us. We don't care if you are buying and selling in the next week. We're not the buyer get out of my agents. We want educated clients who understand what's going on around them. And whether you're moving or not, we think that's a really important thing to do. So if you're not on our list, make sure you reach out to us, and we will put you on that list to get specific information about your market on a regular basis.
Until then,
see you next week.
Okay.
And if you're an agent, pop over to our agent YouTube channel, Ruth Sheehan, Raise the Bar. And we'll be talking a little bit about drilling down on this for your clients.